How to Solve Death, Episode 1. This is a show about post-success ideology. What do you do after you've satisfied your basic needs? The structure of the show is first I do a monologue, and then we cover a few stories about current events. Today's stories are number 1, TPUSA speech by Vivek Ramaswamy, and the animated reaction to it from people like Fuentes and Arwal. And the second story is Steve Bannon's hard push against AI and the right becoming a party of Luddites. I'll start with a monologue. The premise of the show is that it is very easy to satisfy your basic needs. And once you do that, there's not much to do. A solution to that feels meaningful by process of elimination, when taken to its limit, is that the only thing that is worth working towards is solving death. That's pretty much it. The problem with that is that it goes counter to every single mainstream narrative, including the edgy cool kids narrative like Nick Fuentes, who promotes Christian nationalism as a panacea. Panacea means a solution to every problem, which is a solution to every problem if you're actually religious. The problem is that I've never met a religious person, so it doesn't seem that the ideology survives without the eloquent, high IQ leader who is Nick Fuentes. So it doesn't actually connect. It's not organic. The organic ideology that hasn't been voiced yet, but seems to be in the natural evolution to what people are feeling, is that everyone has food, everyone has shelter, everyone's atheist. Thus, you are very open to do anything. And the only goal that one can strive for and feel like is not transient. By transient, I mean that is actually permanent, that it has a permanent effect, is solving death, because you can just live longer. And you're not saved by religion, because if you're an atheist, you believe that nothing really happens after you die. You just kind of turn off and go to sleep. There are a few tangential, meaning close by, ideologies that are circling around this idea, but don't actually commit to it. One is AI accelerationism, which does feel like a good single goal to work towards as something that can solve all your problems, including death. However, it feels a little bit passive, because not everyone can actually contribute unless you're actually a software engineer and you're doing research. I do have a more inclusive solution to death, and I will voice it later in the video. But before that, I will finish with the tangential ideologies. The other ideology is Peter Thiel's ideology, which is you believe that the world is stagnant and you don't really do anything about it. You feel just cool for giving an accurate analysis, but it's very passive. Again, you're not really doing anything to contribute to the solution. And there's the Brian Johnson ideology, which again is very passive, which is don't die, which doesn't contribute to solving death. It's again just sort of waiting for someone else to do it for you. My solution to solving death is twofold. First, I will tell you a short story, and that will serve as a preface to the actual solution, so that you know that it's possible. In the 1970s, there was a man called Laszlo Polgar, and he had a belief that every kid can be a genius. And he tested that by seeing what his 3 daughters gravitated towards naturally, and that turned out to be chess. And he taught them chess for 10-15 years, since they were very, very young. The result was that all 3 sisters became absolute grandmasters, and one of them, Judith Polgar, became the top female grandmaster for 25 years. So his experiment worked. I do not believe that every kid is intrinsically means naturally, a genius, but I do believe that you actually don't need to be a genius to contribute significantly. And that can come through simple early specialization, which leads to development of extreme competence and confidence of that person in their field, which is good. All 3 sisters turned out to be very, very happy, and they would do it again in a heartbeat. And it's a happy ending story. The only strange thing is that nobody has ever done that since. You see that certain cultures are way better at this, for example, Russia and China, they help their kids specialize in what they enjoy to a very great extent, because they understand that extreme competence in any field leads to extreme success, money-wise and confidence-wise. However, it usually has to do with sports, which doesn't really have any value, really. In Russia, it's ice skating or wrestling or chess. In China, it is instruments like piano and violin, sometimes math. But the math part is usually just to pass an exam to get in a good school, and less about associating math with self-expression, which is the goal. And that's pretty much it. The second part of the solution to how to solve death is to help your kids to specialize in anything that is at least tangentially contributing to solving death. It can be arts, it can be science. Most things can be tailored to contribute to this goal, because there's a very limited amount of things that kids actually gravitate towards. And if you don't have a chessboard in your house, they're not going to gravitate towards chess. So you can navigate it a little bit. There's more to it. Most people can be compartmentalized, means divided, into operators and revolutionaries, or peacetime CEOs, wartime CEOs. There's many ways to identify what a kid is drawn to or what range of activities they would like. But the solution is to dedicate your time to really help them specialize in their field from when they're very, very young, and not choose fields that 100% have no impact, like ice skating or playing chess. There is a third part, which is you can also do that at scale. And this is really, and this really comes down to a person's preference and their operational management capacity and competence, is like just how many kids you want to have. The idea of having more than 3 kids, more than 5 kids, more than 10 kids, it is being normalized, and it is being pushed as something cool by, for example, people like Tate, and he wants to have 20 kids. Great. And for him, it's more like a status thing, but that's good. Yeah, like normalizing that is good. It also has a side effect of solving the problem of population collapse, but that's just a positive externality. Externality means side effect. That's it. So now we're going to go through a couple stories. We'll see who we are working against and what kind of framings and narratives and ideologies we are up against, because this is not a popular idea. This seems like a natural evolution of what people are actually thinking, but it feels that it just needs a little push.
And the answer of what it means to be a conservative, this is what it's up to us to answer. It is a fork in the road for the future of the conservative movement right now. What does it mean to be a conservative? It means we conserve those ideals that define our country. And now is a moment, a time for choosing in the future of our conservative movement, to determine with clarity who's actually on that team of conserving the ideals versus who actually is not.
This is a very common way to explain away what conservatism is. Most people right now don't feel allegiance to any party. It's just whichever party overlaps the most with their values is the party that they join, because it's hype and it's fun. But there are certain things that we don't want to conserve because they go counter to how to solve death. So for example, religion. Religion removes any pressure to do anything, because you can just live a chill life and then go to heaven. If you're an atheist, you can't really do that because you don't want your kids to die.
If you believe that boys should compete with girls in girls' sports, I'm sorry, you're not on the team. You have no place in this movement.
Nobody cares about that.
If you believe, thank you. It's pretty obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you believe in racial quotas in government hiring, you have no place in the conservative movement. Sorry, you're not on the team. You're free to believe it. It's a free country, but you have no place in the conservative movement. If you believe in normalizing hatred towards any ethnic group, toward whites, towards blacks, towards Hispanics, towards Jews, towards Indians, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement. Period. And I will not apologize for that. I will not hedge when I say it. If you believe, and you will forgive me for giving you an exact quote from our online commentator Nick Fuentes, if you believe that Hitler was pretty fucking cool, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement. You could debate foreign aid to Israel all you want. That's fine, that's fair, but you have no place with that level of hatred. You can debate the right resolution to the Russia-Ukraine war, but if you believe Joseph Stalin is someone to look up to, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement.
Most people have no knowledge of history. Nobody has actually read 20th century history. It's not a literal phrase. It's like saying that white kids now are racist, but they all grew up on Kanye West and Drake, who are black. This has nothing to do with racism. It's people wanting to be contrarian and edgy, or people seeing immigrants come to their neighborhoods and introduce cultures that they don't like. It has nothing to do with skin color.
If you call Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States of America, a cheat, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement. And if you can't say those things without stuttering, then you have no place as a leader at any level in the conservative movement either. Certainly not in my state of Ohio. Now, does this mean those who have espoused these views or even said these things are bad people? Right? Because it's easy to come here and denounce the woke left. That part's super easy. Coming up here and denouncing a bunch of groypers, in the conservative movement, a little bit harder, but in the scheme of things, I could care less. Pretty easy for me. The hard part is asking the question of where we go from here. This is what our country actually requires. This is what true leadership demands. And we ask the question, are these bad people for saying these things? And I think the answer to that question, I think I'm going to tell you something that both Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson ought to be able to agree on. I think they will. Are these bad people? I think the answer to that question is no, because there's no such thing as an inherently bad person, actually. See, the Christian faith that Charlie espoused teaches us that every one of us, every one of you is made in the image of God. My Hindu faith teaches us that God and his divinity resides in each of us, that we're truly equal in the most moral sense.
Damn, even Vivek is religious. This is crazy.
There's no such thing as an inherently bad person. There's only ever an inherently good person that exists. But sometimes, good people do and say bad things. They believe they're doing the right thing, but they're still doing the wrong thing. And the job of a true leader is to understand why, and then to step up and actually fix it. And the issue in our country right now, all jokes aside, is that we are in the middle. All of these, everything we've just talked about, from the woke left to the groyper right, these are symptoms of a generational crisis of purpose and meaning in our country. Depression, anxiety, addiction, higher than we've ever seen in American history in your generation, in Gen Z. Economic insecurity, which I understand, feeling like you work hard, not quite getting ahead. Home ownership out of reach for a 30-year-old. Took on that four-year college debt and degree, but without being able to get that right job, has created economic angst. You combine that with the failures of an educational system that are failing our youth day to day, when 75% of 8th graders are not proficient in math, and 70% of them aren't proficient in reading. Something that makes the left upset when I say it because they think that's racist, and something that makes some of my friends on the right upset because they take it as a personal insult. The truth is, years of woke indoctrination and victimhood psychology in our schools, we were complaining about it not because we were culture warriors alone, but because that has consequences. So we have to fix it, and it's up to us to do this now. And I mean this message as bitter medicine for everyone in my shoes, leadership in the Republican Party, myself included, to swallow. Now we can't blame the Democrats anymore. Truth is, we won the election last year. We control all three branches of the federal government. In my home state, we control all three branches of the state government. If we don't get this right now, we have nobody left to blame but ourselves. That is on us. That is the standard you hold us to.
I feel like most people are chilling. Nobody's dying from not having money. And this whole thing about depression and anxiety and not having meaning. People have meaning. A lot of people just want to make money. That's their meaning. They want to self-express through showing that they make more money or that they are better than someone else. That gives people a lot of meaning. So meaning is always going to be there. The only thing that's missing is an exciting vision for the future. And that's what people like Nick Fuentes offer. Christian nationalism is hype. It's fun. It doesn't really connect without the leader. The idea here is as strong as its leader, which is bad, because that means that it's not organic, apart from the nationalism, which is organic. So people are chill. Don't worry about it.
And if we fail, vote us the heck out of office. That is the fate we deserve. So that's on us now. No more just, cable news screaming about Schumer shutdowns or whatever it is, right? It bores me. It doesn't matter. It's up to us. We have a chance to lead with our own vision. Blaming the Democrats isn't enough. That's on us. But I also have an ask in closing of each of you here tonight, especially Gen Z, especially the next generation of young conservatives who I believe are actually going to save this country. Do not repeat the mistakes of the woke left. The number one mistake of the woke left, I will ask you, I will implore you not to repeat as young conservatives, is don't be a victim. The number one factor, thank you.
It's a misanalysis.
Victimhood culture from the left or the right will be the ruin of this country. The number one factor, not the only factor, but the number one factor that determines whether each and every one of you achieves your goals in life is actually you. That's the truth. John F. Kennedy famously said it, and I think we should heed his words. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Okay, next clip. He ends the speech in 30 seconds. The only tangential way that Vivek contributes to this whole thing is that he is pro high skill immigration, which is actually a very thin line that I feel should be walked on. You do want to preserve nationalism because you want to preserve ego, because that's the thing that makes people want to win. And if there is no enemy, then people relax. And if you diversify a country to such an extent that it doesn't feel like your country, then there can be no enemy. Then the enemy is within, and it's weird. So preserving nationalism is good, preserving culture is good. However, you do want people who can get $1 million per year job because they are an AI researcher who's going to work at OpenAI or XAI or DeepMind. So that's the main reason why Vivek is beneficial to the cause, but everything else is just sad because he's just not understanding what's happening, and not engaging with the Groypers is a mistake because that's literally your constituency in 10 years. Constituency means the people who vote for you, because he's 40. If he's going to keep being in politics for 20, 30 years, and all of these kids are going to grow up, and they all grew up on Nick Fuentes and Tate. So you have to engage them. Dismissing them is a mistake. So this is clip 2. This is the response by Fuentes.
You walk around in a suit with your fucking disgusting bare feet. You walk around with your big, stupid fucking head, receding hairline, pompous and arrogant, lecturing Americans on the founding because you read a couple of books about it. Like this is your home. This is not your home. And you know it's not your home. That's why you married an Indian and you had Indian kids. You gave them Indian names. You didn't assimilate. You didn't even adopt the religion of our country. And you go around telling us that we don't even have to speak English to be American. Fuck you. You should go back to India, where there's a lot more people like you. There's 1.5 billion Indians in India. And you don't have to worry about being called a Jeet there, because there's 1.5 billion fucking Jeets in India, and they won't call you one over there. Go live there if it makes you feel uncomfortable. If you want to live here, give an ounce and a shred of respect to the people that built this country. We're not asking anymore. We're telling you. And if you think now that you're going to become the governor of Ohio, telling white people that you're as American as them, you got your anchor baby birthright citizenship from your H-1B fucking parents, you think you're going to go around Ohio telling people that have been there since the Civil War or since the Revolutionary War, you're as American as them, you're now going to be their governor? You got another thing coming, pal. Not on my watch. You're calling me out? Groyperism isn't conservatism? You're right. It's Americanism. Groyperism is Americanism. I am an American. 90% of the voters that cast a vote for Trump in 2016 were white people. And all the Republican Party can do, really, since New Year's Eve last year, whether it's Sriram Krishnam or David Sachs or Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy, is to remind those white people that they're not entitled to their own country, that their own country isn't their birthright. that their own country isn't theirs to give to their children. And they're doing it with Jews and Indians like this. Jews and Indians who are going to browbeat and lecture us about anti-Semitism and anti-Indian slurs. No one's going to call us Jeets and no one's going to call us Jews. We're just as American as anybody. This country's for everybody. Well, if it's for everybody, then let the Indians vote for you. If you're as American as us, let all the other Indians vote for you. No white people should be voting for Vivek Ramaswamy then. You cannot continue to insult our race. You cannot continue to insult Americans and then expect them to turn out and vote for you. Why? Because you're in favor of health savings accounts? Fuck you. Because you're in favor of the free market? Because you're in favor of what? An AI regulation moratorium? How did you even make your money? You move money around for billionaires? What did you ever invent? You compare yourself to Thomas Edison? You compare yourself to European inventors? The difference is that Europeans are geniuses who invented things. You invented nothing. You are a scammer. You made a fake drug that didn't work, you gassed the price up, and then you sold it. That's the difference between you and Vanderbilt, you and Rockefeller.
So nationalism is good. It gives you ego, it makes you compete, but it can't be the telos in itself. It can be the goal in itself. Telos means goal. You want nationalism to lead to something. You want that to be the impetus. Impetus means the driving force to then do something. Nationalism is good, first of all, because it's real, it's organic, unlike religion and Christianity that Nick also promotes. So that's why there's a thin line between just accepting everyone who has talent and preserving a sense of a unit that is competing against another unit, which is the point of nationalism. So next I'm going to play a clip to show the sensitivity that something like what Vivek says invokes about preserving nationality, about preserving white identity,